I'm Chris, and this is Single Dad Homestead, brought to you from the beautiful Appalachian Mountains in Northeast Tennessee. Guys, we finally put 2 deers down on the ground this year. Hopefully we'll get a couple more. But today what I'm going to show you is how to break down a rear ham on a deer. So the back hind quarter, the ham. Break it down. We're not going to cut it into steaks. We're not going to make it into hamburger. We're going to make every piece of it into stew meat. So what we're going to do is going to break down that meat, chop it up into cubes, I don't know, 1 inch by 1 inch. It doesn't matter. Smaller, a little bit bigger. We're going to pack them in jars, raw pack. Put a we're going to do pints today. Do a half a tablespoon of canning salt in them. Pop them in our new All-American canner. It'll hold 16 wide mouth pints or 19 regular pints is what it says, is 19 pints. But I found the other day when I ran my first run that I only came up with 16 being able to fit in them, but there was room for probably one more because a regular mouth pint jar is a little different. My voice is a little crazy. I'm glad to be back, and what we're going to do is show you kind of our setup. So we've got the stove going. We've got our pot. We'll turn that on low and let that water heat up. I put hot water. 4 quarts is what I go. It says 2 to 3 inches. 4 quarts of water in there is good. You want distilled water. You really don't want to use anything with a lot of chlorine or anything in it. This is my utensils that I'll be using to cut up. This is a ELYN knife. It's actually made for harvesting and skinning out deer and things of that nature. That's just a small paring knife. And then I have a larger boning knife. I have a rag here that's clean. I have a couple of rags under my cutting board. I have my cutting board itself. Have all of my jars sitting over here in hot boiling water. That's just, they're already been cleaned. I'm just letting them sit there, come to that kind of temperature. It helps out a lot. A couple more extra rags, a clean sink, because that's where we're going to put the meat in to kind of get the first breakdown of it. And then we'll bring it over to the board and cut it up and show you where we're at. This camera works a little bit crazy. The kitchen's all to pieces. Then you want to have, I got my camera stuff sitting here. You want to have a surface with a rag on it, a table. I brought this in. Your ring's ready. Got your canning salt for at the end. And we're going to go through it that way. So I'll be back with you in just a second. I'm going to get a ham out, put it in the sink. I'll show you that. I'll show you the process of breaking that ham down off the bone. And then we'll go from there on how to take it even further into put it down. Once again, I want to reiterate, we are not doing steaks. We're not doing hamburger. We're not doing anything of that nature. We're going to do stew meat is what we're going to do. So I'm going to stop this so the video doesn't go too crazy long, and we'll be back to you in just a second when we get it going. Thanks for having me back, guys. All right, guys, we are back. Here we go. So I have the ham in the sink. It's all washed up clean. Remember, this thing came out of the woods. It was field dressed in the woods. There's leaves on it. There's dirt on it. There's things of that nature. You want to wash it off. Then when we place it up here on a cutting board, we're going to clean this ham up quite a bit. Get this kind of crazy view off here. The lighting's not great, but that's okay. It's just been washed off in the sink. We're going to lay it up here on this board. I'm going to turn you off for 1 second, fix this camera up here so that you guys get a view of what I'm doing from the cutting board. You're not going to see me, but you're going to hear me and see my hands. So actually I may be able to get you guys up here. So actually you guys can see both of us. So hopefully my battery is going to hold up for this part of it. See where we're at. You're going to have hair. You're going to have things of that nature that you need to do. You also, one of the things I wanted to mention, you want to have a nice sharpener with you. This is just a nice little sharpener that I got at the Smoky Mountain Knife Works. I just cut my finger. Boom, not a good thing. Let's put a Band-Aid on that. Got those right here. So, Band-Aid, Band-Aid, Band-Aid. Luckily that was a clean knife. Just got in there, so let's clean that off. good little nick. Let's single dad homestead. I got a single dad myself sometimes. So let's see. Bingo, bango. Uh-oh. That little thing's not gonna work good. So we will improvise, adapt, and overcome, because that is how the Marine Corps teaches us to do it. I think I have some tape in here. Maybe, maybe not. Let me get back to you. See you in a second. All right, we're back. I got my finger taped up. We're good to go. All right, let me wash this knife off. Not like it's got anything on it. It's so sharp that it's done. So anyway, I'm just going to take some of the silver skin off so you can see a little better. You want to make sure that you're removing all the fat. Get you a big garbage bag and have it on hand too. This fat is what gives your meat that wild gamey flavor. So if you're not one that likes that real wild gaming flavor, just cut it off. You don't have to be, you're not making steaks, like I said, with all of this. So you don't have to be too gosh awful neat with it. But we'll kind of go over and show you kind of what is what on this piece of meat. So it'll give you a better idea of what you're looking at. So if you were looking at this ham, this is your joint. This is the back portion toward the tail. So if you're looking, this is the pelvic bone. This is the back portion of where the tail is. Wait a minute. Yeah. This is the back portion. You can see there's dirt. All you gotta do is take your knife. You've cleaned it up. Just remove it. Put it in the trash can behind you. Throw this fat in there too. I don't know of anybody that uses fat. If you guys do, leave a comment down below. Let me know how you use the fat, if you use the fat, all of that, and where you're going to go at. Putting these towels or a napkin underneath it really helps out a lot. I keep the towel over here because you'll come across little hairs. Keep the wet towel, just wipe it, and it gets it done. So you can kind of see the structure of this meat, how these hams actually will lay out. You can see there's one here. If I just take my knife and I kind of roll with that right there, I can take my thumb, and if I was going to be doing this into roast and stuff, if you can see how this is laying open, that's kind of how you're getting your roast. And I will take this down into roast pretty much, and then we're going to stew it out just because it's a little easier to handle. So what you're going to do is just kind of follow those lines that the muscle structure gives you, okay? And you're going to be able to go through here fairly quickly and get these. Oh, like I said, I'm not making roast, so I'm not paying attention to really how I'm breaking this down as good. Like this right here would be another roast. But if you look at that piece of meat, you know, it needs to be cleaned up. There's some artery and things of that nature in there that would just be better if you just cleaned it up. Makes it a little better nice. This silver skin that you're seeing here, I'll show you in a few minutes how to get that off. But that's just a beautiful steak that makes a nice flank steak. You can get in there, get it cleaned up and stuff, and go from that. But we're going to clean that up a little bit more as we go. If you have pieces of meat that have things that you don't want but they're still meat, you can keep those and use them as dog food, guys. This is a great source, not just for humans, but for your animals. If you have dogs or cats, it's very healthy for them. They love it. You can cook it up or you can serve it to them raw, but it's very nice. You want to make sure to get all these glands and stuff like this out, like that. You can see that's a gland. That will give your meat a gamey flavor as well. This, like I said, is not going to be roast and steaks, so we will not be as nice with it as we normally would. Now the bone, this is your thigh bone, is right in here. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my knife, I'm going to run it right down that thigh bone so I can get a deal. There's the joint. I'm going to come right in behind that joint. Then I'm going to take the knife and I'm going to run it straight down through there so that I can get my fingers on that bone. And then you can go, if you're making hamburger and stuff, and you can clean off as close as you can get. Come right over top of where that knee would be and just start cleaning up. You can go back and get all this meat off when you're doing stew meat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come right up along this pelvic bone and start cleaning that up. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this up into 2 videos. I'm going to show you how to break down this, because if I don't, this will be an hour-long video. So you'll get this video, and then we're going to come back. Now I'm going to just cut this right here, follow up on that pelvic bone, and come out. You'll get this video of cleaning up this meat, getting it ready to process, and then we'll come back. I'll have another video that I'll have ready to post up. I'll post this one, will be coming out Monday, and then we'll do the actual canning video of this meat. Look at that big piece of meat. Look at that big roast. Amazing. We'll do the actual canning video, will be coming out, let's say Wednesday, maybe Tuesday, I'm not sure. We'll have to just see how time goes and how my uploads are going to go. I'm hoping that everything's good to go by that time, but we're just going to cut through, go over here. You can see how clean I've gotten this bone. I mean, there's a little bit of meat on there, but not much. You can see up here by the pelvic bone, there's not much there either. I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to take my knife, I'm going to find that pelvic bone, and I'm then going to follow it right down that right there again. I'm going to come right in here. You can see there's a natural line here. I'm going to come right behind where the knee would be, so above the calf, that shank. Okay, and I'm going to come up through there, and then you can see this here. I'm going to cut that off so you can see this line a little bit more. Usually I'd do that at a different point, but since I'm showing you, we're there. You can see this right here, there's a line, and you can see where that meat, this would have actually been part of that other roast that I just took off right here. So if we'd have took that on around, and we're being neater to make steaks and roast and things of that nature, you would have seen that a little easier, but that's not the purpose of this. This is Stew Meat 101. We'll end up calling this or something, I don't know. But this is not to make pretty roast, which I could very easily, but this is going to be more of a stew meat. Once again, beautiful piece of meat. We're going to clean each one of these up. If I actually wanted to go through here and make this into a round, I'd come in here, clean those up, come get these pieces of meat, which all would be used for hamburger. Cut that right there. Once again, if you look at the meat and follow it, it'll show you exactly where to cut it. That would make some beautiful steaks, a beautiful roast. It's awesome. It's there, it's fresh. You know where it's been as far as being in the wild, so you know there's no GMOs, there's no hormones, there's no craziness. If you're not living by a big agricultural farming area, this deer meat like this from these mountains, there's no agricultural farming around here, so there's nothing in this meat that is there. It's just what the good Lord gave us and intended us to eat. So it's there, let's see what we can salvage for stew meat in here. This piece of meat here, this shank piece of meat, it is actually a really, really good piece of meat. You can take and saute it up. If you look really close, you'll see all of these white lines. That's what we call silver skin. It's very, very tough, okay? We're gonna clean all this up in a minute. It goes all the way around the shank meat. I am not gonna stew this. I am not gonna make this meat into stew meat. And the reason I'm not gonna take that shank meat and make it into stew meat is my mother and father feed their dogs deer meat throughout the year, and the quality of this meat is not what I want to put into a stew. So what I will do is I'll cut this, I'll take one of my metal bowls, and I'll start a dog bowl. So that will be, this meat that I'm going to take off will not be wasted. It'll be given to my animals to make them healthy, have beautiful coats, and just all around healthier animal, just like we're going to be healthier humans for eating this meat that God gave us, that was intended for us to use, that He directs us to go out and harvest and to take bounty in the fruits of our labor. So it's all around something that I think everybody should do. He tells us to work from the sweat of our brow and live off the land and be good stewards of the land. You can't be a good steward of the land without managing the animals. He put them here for us for that reason. You're not going to get any better meat from any grocery store. It doesn't matter if you're going to a big box store or not. This meat here I won't take off. That was backed by the pelvic bone, but that meat is fairly clean. It's just a bone. We'll take it, we'll dump it in the trash can in a big bag, and now we can get into breaking down this meat. So I'm going to break this down. I need another pot. Let's use this skinnier pot for right now. So we're going to use this pot. Boom. We're going to set it right over here. We got the dog pot. We set the dog pot over there. So now we're going to just clean this meat up. I'm going to take some of this, where it's at. This deer hung for 3 days in the cold. 40 degrees or less is what I recommend, with a bag of ice in its cavity. And then I took this meat and I put it in the ice into a cooler. And if you're up north, you can let a deer hang for 10 or 15 days with no issues. And I've seen people let them hang longer than that. But down here in the south, you can't do that. I've had temperatures in the 50s and 60s. So I had to take it out. I put it on ice. I filled it with 2 bags of ice and then took water over top of the meat. And I let it sit for 2 more days and drained it every day, morning and evening, to get the blood out of it. And then that's why you're seeing this beautiful, beautiful meat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my larger knife now. I'm going to start right here. And I'm just going to cut it into strips. And the reason that I make so much stew meat, probably 95% of the meat that I make is stew meat. And the reason that I do that is, all right guys, I got to come right back to you, okay? Got the UPS guy here. All right guys, we're back. I'm sorry. One of the things you guys haven't got to see is I've gotten the solar system in. So this is a battery charger to maintain when we're not real sunny. That's what the UPS guy just brought. So had it up, got it hooked up. We'll have a video on it later. Throw it back here in the back. All right. So you see these beautiful pieces of meat. Look at that. Beautiful, lean. You want to talk about lean meat? This is it. So we cut them into the strips. We're going to take and cut them straight down again. Straight down again. All right, guys, we're out having real good luck today. Anyway, battery just died. So what we're going to do is we're just going to keep cutting this into these pieces about 1 inch by 1 inch. And we'll process that entire ham. I've only got 24% left on this. We're going to finish up this ham. When I'm done with this ham and chopped up, We'll come back. I'll show you what the finished product is, where it looks like, and then we'll go from there. But basically, that's what we're going to do to clean up this ham, is go through and you know what? Let's just keep going. I don't need to jump off. I've got 24%. We'll go until the battery dies, and that's what it is. So what we're going to try to do is just take off a little bit of this fat as we're going. Like I said, just clean your meat up, make it nice. This all can be used for your animals, for your dogs, your cats. If you got anything else that eats meat, a lion, you know, I don't know. What do you got? I mean, you got grizzly bears, pieces of little fatty. And then you just go through and you get most of this. This is just the skin, like a membrane on the meat. This up here is actual fat. And you can tell the difference. But these pieces we'll still use for the dogs. So you have another little, like a roast. If we want to clean it up, I guess I'll just keep showing you guys how these roast. Kind of lay in this piece of meat. This is what we call the silver skin, this piece that lays here. And if you take your knife and slide it right underneath it, where you get like that right there, you can take your knife and just run right down that piece of meat. Just hold it. This is really, really prevalent on the back straps. I'll show you how to get the meat off of that you have too, so you don't lose any. Just cut it. That's a good dog piece. And then right there's another little piece. Dogs. There you go. So I know I'm probably going to get some haters on this that aren't meat eaters, but that's okay. I got some of you guys that aren't meat eaters that love me, and I love you guys, and I honor your choice to eat vegetables and be vegetarian and be vegan. That's awesome. I'm not. See those pieces of meat? I just filleted off right there. Now for you bushcraft guys, this is where you're going to get your sinew and things like that. You can use this. You can scrape it, get that off of there, and this is what you can use for backing your bows. When you talk about sinew, that's what that is silver skin. And you can take and dry it out. But look at that big piece of meat that I just saved from that piece of silver skin. Cut it up, add it into the stew meat. It's pretty tough sometimes. So, and then just throw it away. Here's our other roast. Here we go. Switch knives once again. Slice it into long slices. This way, guys, with this meat, for what the purpose of what it is, I'm not worried about going with grain, against the grain. I'm not really worried about how I'm cutting it, because it falls apart. It doesn't matter what cut of meat you have, it just falls apart when you cook it. So once again, just beautiful, beautiful meat. God has provided for us another healthy way to eat instead of McDonald's and the crap. You know, some of these pieces are a little big, so we'll cut them again. Looks pretty good. We'll see if we can get this whole thing cut up and show you how much meat you get out of one ham. And what I might do is actually get it all cut up with you guys, and then fill the jars, and just show you the jars of how many jars you can get out of one ham, and then we can do the canning video for the next one. This is going to be a fairly long video, probably about 25 to 30 minutes long, so don't want to get too much into it, but I do want to show you guys how much meat you can get out of one ham during this video. So once again, Here's another beautiful piece of meat. This was just a little, not garbage piece of meat, but a little piece of meat that was taken off around the bone, and it is just as edible as any other. This would be normally what you'd use in your hamburger and things like that, but it's a great stew piece of meat too. Cooks up really well and does an amazing job. So this is another piece like that off the top of one of those little hams. So what we're going to do is just cut it. Like I said, it is a situation where it all cooks up just the same. So it just all falls apart in your mouth. I'll do the canning video, then I'll break a can open from last year, and I'll cook a meal for you guys. I know ELYN has cooked for you guys, but I have not cooked for you guys yet. So maybe I'll do that. I'll do one of my favorite canned venison meals for you guys. Quick, easy. You can cook it in probably less than 10 minutes, but we'll say a 10-minute meal or not. And I'll put out a challenge to Miss Abby over at Abby's Kitchen at Broussard's Homestead, and we'll see if she can get on to something. I hear Miss ELYN coming down, but I don't think she has a shirt on. Oh, she does. She can come over and say hi to you guys. Look her up here, ELYN, say hi. And then we're going to jump off of here. She says hi from her Cookie Swirl C shirt. All right, guys, I'm going to finish cutting this up, and then we will... Oh, yeah. Yummy, yummy, yummy.
I want this for dinner.
Okay, we'll have some for dinner. All right, guys. So let me get this cut up. I'll bring you back, show you how many jars we get out of one back quarter. All right, guys. So this is the actual bowl of meat we're going to put in jars in a few minutes. And this is the dog meat that we got. I'm going to get those put into jars, and I'll come back and tell you how many jars we actually got of this meat off of one ham. So let me get my jars set up. I'll come back and show you. I've only got 12% left on my battery. So let's get back to you in a minute with how many jars do you think are in there. All right. See you in a minute. All right, guys. So we just got done. ELYN actually helped pack the meat. We ended up with 8 pints. It's 8 pints and probably 3 pints of dog food out of one ham. Plus, ELYN kept that pieces of meat she wants to cook up and eat tonight with some back straps. So with that said, this is how to butcher a back ham on a deer. Put your hands down. How to jar it, and you'll have one that comes out of how to can it here later. So with that said, God bless.
Live what God gives you, and we're out of here.
And we're out of here. Bye, guys.